The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt, so get ready for some trouble, because we're talking Robocop. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. We're talking about Robocop 1, 2, and 3, and I'm joined by my fantastic panel of nerds. Matt Vader 74 is here. Welcome, sir.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm freaking out,
I'm freaking out, too. Because we have David Hewlett as a special guest. Welcome, sir.
Unwanted guest. The seat review.
We did an interview with him and he never left.
He kept saying, okay, bye. And he was like, well, what are you guys doing now?
Can we totally hang out?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no to you hanging out with us on our live show. Also here, the ambassador of estrogen, Jude. Welcome.
Oh, hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
And last but not least, the frustrated producer of the show, Matthew Kadish.
I'm not very frustrated.
Yes.
It's not every day that you get to talk Robocop with Rodney McKay.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
He's having a pretty good day.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So like normal, we're going to talk about these three movies. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break, listen to some sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you want to join the club, go to saltynerdclub.com. That is where the action happens. We have a fantastic community over there. You guys get 4 exclusive podcasts every single month. We're talking Foundation. Later on in 2022, we're going to go through some legacy sci-fi shows like Stargate, which I'm sure we're going to talk about Atlantis at some point in time.
What a good idea.
So, we feel like some of these shows are not quite getting the attention that they deserve. So if you want to join the club, go to saltynerdclub.com. It's a great community, like I said, and we get a lot of perks. And for December, we're doing a special offer. If you guys join the $30 tier, you're going to get an exclusive hat that has our Salty Nerd logo on it, and a certificate of authenticity, and a special group in our Discord, all kinds of really cool perks. So please help support us. We'd really appreciate it. And that is it. I'm done shilling for now.
I'm sorry.
You're freaking out.
I laugh every time you say you get your hat, and a certificate.
And
of
a certificate. A
I was
little
like,
gold ticket.
What are we authenticating?
Like
it's
fucking
really
Willy Wonka, bro.
You need like an NFT hat.
Yeah.
You're never going to be allowed to leave.
You really are Kadish's best
Yeah.
friend.
I try to tell these guys about NFTs. They just go cross-eyed.
They're like, what the hell is cryptocurrency?
Well, oh, no, come on.
No.
Except just don't bring it up on Twitter because, my God, it turns people just go.
See, Hewlett
crazy.
gets me, though. Hewlett
He
gets
does.
me.
I feel like he's a soulmate.
Yeah, he's the best man
There's
in
a
our
T-shirt
wedding.
right
We
there.
literally there was
Gets me.
we had a Step Brothers moment a little while ago with Kadish and Hewlett. He was
I
like,
think you're my best
You're
friend.
my best
It was
friend.
beautiful. It was beautiful, man.
But anyway,
You can't podcast without
Hewlett's going to walk Kadish down the aisle.
But I'm not giving him away.
You won't take him from me, you bitch.
Dude, I'm leaving you for Hewlett.
I get it. I get it.
all right, guys, let's get into the first movie on our list today is the original Robocop. Take it away, Jude.
1987 Robocop, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour 42 minutes. This had a budget of $13 million. Let's start with David. David, what do you think this brought into the box office?
Oh, my God. It would have been huge. But at the time, huge was smaller. So what?
$87. Like $1987.
$1987, what was about 50 million, something like that?
Okay.
50, 60?
Alex?
I'm going to say it cracked 100 million.
V?
Let's go 85.
The winner is David with $53 million.
Do I get a hat?
They get an NFT.
Damn it. I was hoping for something at least worth a hat.
We're going to have to send him a hat.
You get the really cool bragging rights of saying you won something.
Well, it's just that I remember thinking, but I remember thinking that the movies always seemed like these ones now, just the numbers seem just like I can't even fathom them. Whereas before you're like, oh, okay, wow, 50 million makes sort of sense somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Would you like to know what it's about?
Yes, Jude.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
All right.
Take it away.
Murphy's first day on the job after transferring to the hellish North Detroit precinct ends in him getting gunned down by crime boss Red Foreman. But there's a cutting-edge medical technology for cops that just got greenlit, and Murphy already signed the waiver for it. Now he's Robocop, Detroit's best officer. He serves the public, upholds the law, and protects the innocent. But there's one more prime directive he doesn't realize he has until he's faced with the challenge of arresting OCP's #2 guy, Dick Jones, and goes into system malfunction. RoboCop's programming won't let him stand against any senior officer of OCP, the company that designed him. But his partner, Lady Cop Lewis, doesn't have any counter-programming and can help bring his attackers to justice. Discuss.
Dick Jones.
Dick Jones.
What a name.
Jones. I wonder if he's a good guy.
Yeah. So I hadn't watched this movie in years. I didn't remember anything about it.
This is where your millennial shit kicks in.
Yeah, this is where my age is shown, because I don't have the nostalgia like you guys do for this movie. Although I did enjoy the hell out of it because it was so overly gruesome. God. It was amazing.
This was very Verhoeven.
Yeah.
This to me, this movie is quintessential must-watch 80s action movie.
I can see that.
It's up there with Predator and Total Recall, and you know, it's up there.
It had an interesting sense of humor too.
Yeah,
like it wasn't all doom and gloom.
It's very R-rated. It's raunchy. It's got gnarly jokes in it. It's got boobs in it. Like, you know, all
they always have
movie.
Boobs in it.
Yeah.
And we
didn't have an internet. We only had movies.
I know.
It's got that quintessential ingredient of an 80s movie, which I like to call criminal glee. The glee that the criminals have while they're like committing crimes.
Yeah.
So it's so 80s.
That one sidekick who's like, I just murdered somebody. Like, whoa.
I love murdering.
Yeah, that dude loves killing people.
So you can't wait to watch them die. That's basically the setting them up to get put in a vat of acid or something.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember like the controversy when this movie came out about how violent it was? I think it was submitted to the MPAA like 8 or 9 different times because they kept giving it an X rating, and that was like the stamp of death back then.
Yeah.
And so like they had to keep re-editing the violence out to get it down to an R. But even with all that editing, like it was still like the most violent movie that anyone had ever seen up to that point.
That first murder from freaking that dumb robot, Ed 209. And he's like, the freaking corporate office guy is like, here, point this gun. He hands him a freaking nickel-plated 50 caliber Desert Eagle, like just casually. Here, point this at the death robot and see what happens.
I have this in my desk.
That guy who got killed in the boardroom, wasn't his name like Timmy or something like that? It was just like some really like lame name.
Yeah, something stupid. But his death was freaking epic, though. That thing shot him a lot.
Yeah, and the windows remain standing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the gun.
Please.
So you were talking about like the caliber of gun. Like, oh, that guy just had it in his desk. But like when the robot is like, you have 20 seconds to comply. Throw the weapon down. This guy just throws that gun on the ground with like oomph. And I was like, he did that. And I was like, oh, shit.
Duck and cover.
Like I'm from Ohio. I grew up with guns, and you don't throw a gun on the ground.
I know, right?
No, I just laughed so much because it was so aggressively 80s, that gun. Like just bright, shiny, nickel-plated freaking giant pistol.
Everybody has one.
Everybody in the 80s had one of those. Just cracked me up. But yeah, that office scene, the first kill, kind of like set the pace for me because I was watching it and I was like, okay, yeah, I remember Robocop a little bit. And I'm like, oh, they're going to blow some people up in this movie. Oh, yeah. And that's kind of the main thing that really endears this movie to me was just how gruesome it went.
There's 2 scenes that really stand out to me, and it's the scene when they kill Murphy. Probably one of the most brutal deaths I've ever seen of any in any movie at any time, which kind of endears me to this movie a little bit for some reason. And the scene in the boardroom where Ed 209 kills the dude when they introduce the Ed 209 and it's like, you have 20 seconds to comply, and then he won't shut down, and they just go and the blood splatter it is gnarly. It's just a holy shit moment. It's like, we're like, what are you watching right now? This is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I love about this movie that is missing from the other 2 movies. Like, this movie gets to it. Like, here's our movie. Here's our main character. Now he's dead. Now the movie's going to start. He's a robot. Thank you, movie. Whereas the next one is just like, here's a bunch of story. Doesn't matter. So here's a bunch of more story. Here's some characters. They don't matter. And now 45 minutes in, your movie starts. It's just so much.
The 80s were great for just getting to the freaking point.
Get me to that murder and boobs.
So when it comes to David, when it comes to these movies that like I was not born during this era, I didn't watch this movie growing up. So I always asked my crew, because they're all around that time, what was your theater experience going into RoboCop? Do you remember? Were you with a bunch of friends? How old were you? What was your impression?
Yeah, I would have been with Vincenzo, Andre, the guys who ended up making Cube. and we would go and see movies all the time. And I think what was nice about this one was that it was the beginning of this crossover between this sort of like the subculture of these crazy violent genre films that nobody saw and like a massive blockbuster film. And it was I think what was so shocking to people and what made I think the whole ratings thing a big and it may have just been a marketing thing, but was that it was like a crossover. All of a sudden, this kind of rather geeky sort of subculture of odd little films was now like, oh my God, this is now a real big movie being released like everyone else's big blockbuster movies. And it sort of started that whole thing. I mean, I think at the time it was quite shocking because people weren't doing this.
Yeah.
And of course, someone at our age going in there, I can't remember how old we would have been at the time. What was it, 83? Right. So I was about 87. So I would have been 3 years old. We were just blown away by it. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, this was movie making to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was an Orion film, and I have such nostalgia for right. When you see the Orion logo come out, because they made so many quintessential 80s movies, and this was really riding the coattails of the first Terminator, which kind of came out and set the stage for kind of like the robot stuff.
I got some Terminator vibes from this movie for sure.
And,
definitely.
And so this was Paul Verhoeven's first American film. He'd actually made 9 other films in Dutch before
9 unwatchable Dutch films.
Yeah, pretty much. But with his European sensibilities, so like he just kind of came in and he was like, I don't care if people get shot up and bloody and hands flying off. And so like he brought his unique sensibility to this movie. And it really stands out because it's all concrete and fluorescent lighting. Like the guy who did the cinematography for Das Boot did the cinematography for this movie.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and it has a very unique 80s like look to it because of the fluorescent lighting, and the 2 sequels abandoned that for more like traditional movie lighting and stuff like that.
I don't even remember the other ones. Isn't that awful?
Oh, it's just they're not memorable at all.
Were they straight to video or did they come out in theaters?
Oh,
or
yeah,
they
came out in theaters. Yeah, they were theatrical. In fact, I remember seeing the 3rd one in the theater.
Oh, God, you poor bastard.
Yeah.
Well, I can't get out.
well, Frank Miller, the comic book artist, he wrote the next 2 movies.
I know.
So I was a huge Frank Miller fan. Yeah, I was a huge Frank Miller fan. And so when the 3rd movie came out and he was credited as writing it, I was like, I got to go see it because I love Frank Miller. And then I was so disappointed to find out that like Frank Miller came up with the story and then had his script completely rewritten by the director.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the film industry, kid.
It kind of broke him, and I think it was like Robocop 3. I don't know. We're talking about 3 yet.
Not yet, but we will.
But it broke him to the point where I think he left Hollywood and didn't come back until Sin City.
Yeah. He basically said, I'll never work on another movie unless I'm directing it because writers just get pissed on constantly, and the director is the one who has the power.
We'll talk more about Frank Miller then.
I remember.
Or the actors. I mean, the actors, it's almost become like the actors have the power now. That's the weird thing.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Even the directors have become less important.
I was like, I want to say in 1987, I turned 17.
Did you see this in theaters?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I want to say that this might have been like one of the very first movies I saw legally.
Okay.
At the age of 17.
Okay.
It was one of my first official R-rated movies that I got to go to watch. With
that you were allowed to.
That I was allowed to go, and they couldn't say nothing about it to me. It's like, man, I'm gonna go watch this movie, and you can't do nothing to me about it. What do you think? But
the thing I love most about this movie is just like the satire in it, and Paul Verhoeven's kind of known for that. But Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner, who wrote this movie, they really kind of nailed this like weird dystopian future, and in a lot of ways they were very kind of salient of like what would happen in the future, because like Detroit went bankrupt and became like terrible, and you have all these things like defund the police and police being taken over by private enterprise, and you see that a lot
like
with
the prison system became
the prison
that.
system exactly. And so like the satire in this is just like so on the nose, where you have like the media part. Like this movie starts off with a news broadcast, and it's just like, how often does the news lie to us like today? And we know it. And when you're watching this movie, you're like, yeah, we know that the news is full of shit, but like society still accepts it as gospel. And so like there was just so much stuff in this movie that just it's timeless in the sense of how it critiques our culture, and it was made by a Dutch guy.
It's very timely. Yeah, I was watching it now and I'm like, oh yeah, that all still applies. I love it when old movies. Sorry, you guys. It's an old movie. But no, it is. I love it when old movies. Yeah. When old movies like have that finger on the pulse with how reality is actually working, how it all ended up. I was gonna ask you guys. I'm like, was Detroit just like real bad back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Because like I'm watching this now and I'm like, my God, man, they're shitting all over Detroit in this movie. They were like,
man, I think Detroit's always been a bit of a rough town. So
I was gonna say it hasn't. It's only just beginning to get a bit of a kick.
Yeah,
isn't it? I mean,
and this movie was actually shot in Dallas. Like they couldn't shoot in Detroit
because it was too violent.
Listen,
it would be shot. Yeah,
it's about Detroit. We're not fucking going to Detroit.
Yeah. What are you, nuts?
Yeah.
We're not filming there.
Unless that's a real Robocop.
David, what's the scene that stands out most in your mind in this movie?
For some reason, I mean, well, there's obviously any of the I can't remember the name of the robot, the big one.
Ed 209.
Ed 209. Ed 209 falling down the stairs was a big one for me. Because I'd grown up with the Daleks from Doctor Who, and that was the idea that these robots couldn't get downstairs, and it's still a problem. That's an irony there. But also, I remember just the again, because we were talking about Fangoria earlier. I loved all that stuff. It was the redheaded guy falling in the vat. And he just kept showing up like just. Oh God!
Help me! He's all like melting and stuff. Yeah,
and
the guy from ER.
And eventually he gets splattered on the windshield.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dude, that was the most violent thing. The dude just runs into him, and it's not like he runs over him and he falls underneath the car. No, he just explodes into 80s goo.
I might be wrong, but I kind of feel like there was an action figure that guy.
That probably was.
It's some weird like.
I can already imagine the 80s commercial from the cartoons.
That was the thing that was cool about this movie. This movie is very violent. Very R-rated,
and they market it for
kids. Every kid wanted to see it.
To kids. Everybody wanted a Robocop.
Wanted to see it.
It was crazy.
David, I don't know if you remember this or not, but for a lot of 80s kids, this was like the first R-rated movie that like we, as growing up in the 80s, got to see for whatever reason. Because I remember like, friends like older brothers sneaking it to us, and like we get to watch it like when the parents aren't looking, and we're just like, oh, this is so cool. Like, a lot of 80s kids, like this was their first R-rated movie that they got to see.
Mine was Nightmare on Elm Street, but I'm a weirdo.
Oh yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street too. Yeah, that was another one. I mean, it sort of reminds me of anime now. Like where the parents still just don't really understand it. It's like, oh, it's a movie about like robots of the future. So I'm sure, like, how can that be?
Flew under the radar.
Yeah, and anime the same way now. I feel like my son and all of his friends are into anime, and I've sort of struggled to keep up with the amount of stuff he's watching. And it's like, and you're like, oh my God, this stuff is so weird.
Yeah,
there's just some really confusing
There's an
stuff
anime
there.
on Netflix right now. I think it's called Dracula or something, or Castlevania or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, that might be cool for me to watch my kid. And I started watching it. I was like, oh, nope.
Although,
that's not a real anime though.
It's not?
What is the League of Legends, which is not anime, but the League of Legends stuff is beautiful.
Yeah.
You want a show to talk about? That is a gorgeous.
Yeah, our Discord members have been telling us to check that out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But now that you said it, we'll probably.
Now we're obligated to.
I actually started watching the first episode of that last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
right
it's gorgeous, but I don't know what
it really is gorgeous.
So,
but something like Death Note is more of like
Death Note. Yeah.
Oh, Death Note. Yeah. That's my son got me into Death Note.
Oh,
yeah.
it's so much better than the movie.
oh my God, the movie's a travesty.
Yeah,
that's like do that one. Yeah, rip that one.
Bad.
Throw some salt on that one. Yeah.
But so this movie, it was Paul Verhoeven's first American film, and he realized very quickly that American actors and American crew didn't really jive with his style of directing because he was very short-tempered. He'd yell a lot. And so nobody liked him on this set. And in fact, the second unit director who did all the stuff where Robocop goes out and stops the rapist and does like the hostage situation, stuff like that, he ended up doing more of the shooting because people just hated Paul Verhoeven so much.
Really?
But Paul Verhoeven was kind of the guy overseeing everything, and he eventually dialed back his assholeness, I guess you could say. But, he brought stuff to this movie, like, for instance, the co-ed locker room scene. That's something that's kind
that felt straight out of like Starship Troopers to me.
Well, he directed Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Yeah.
And I think Ed Neumeyer, who wrote this movie, also wrote Starship Troopers. He adapted it.
Okay.
So the co-ed scene was in the original RoboCop. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, they walked in when we first get introduced to Murphy.
The co-ed police.
He walks in and he gets his gear, he gets his bulletproof vest and all that stuff, and he's walking through the co-ed locker room, and that's where the boob scene comes in this movie.
Yeah,
that's the
which I think again that's kind of prescient as well. The idea that because at the time that was, I remember like as a kid watching that, I was like, oh my god.
I wonder if that's the European influence, because Europeans have
Paul Verhoeven has always been really big on like gender neutrality, where it's just like it doesn't matter if you're
or
a man
does
or
he
woman.
just want to see breasts?
Well, that could be it too.
Fair point.
He also did Showgirls. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I've been trying to get these guys to talk about Showgirls for a year.
Please God, don't make me watch that movie.
Yeah, the only problem is you'd have to watch it. Yeah.
Well, there's that famous incident during the shooting of the shower scene in Starship Troopers, where you had the co-ed shower, and all the actors were like very like, I don't feel comfortable doing this, and Verhoeven was like, "What's the big deal? It's just nudity." He took off all his clothes, and
that made it worse.
His cinematographer got naked too, and they were like, "We'll be naked with you guys."
He's just a freak. That's all it is. He's just like,
Paul, put your clothes back on and we'll shoot it. It's fine. Yeah.
But that scene was the famous Dina Meyer's breast scene that has gotten so many movies a half star because of Vader's rating system.
That's right.
So anytime a movie has like 6 degrees to Dina Meyer, Vader gives a half a star extra
because of her boobs.
Because of her boobs in Starship Troopers.
Interesting. Wow. That is
only done it twice.
Degrees of separation.
Those are some powerful breasts.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes movies are so bad you have to like really reach to like up the grade a little bit.
What did you give? It was Star Trek Nemesis, right? That you were like, oh, that's Dina Meyer? Oh, extra half a star.
Because I saw her boobs in another movie. That's right. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's a whole other rating system.
Yeah. So real quick, let's talk about the hero and villain in this movie. So you got Murphy as the hero, like his transformation, that scene where he gets like completely obliterated, that was brutal. And they slow mode his like freaking screaming in pain and stuff.
And it was early.
Yeah, it was real early in the movie. And then from that point on, all you get is like this like skin stretched over a robot face or whatever. I was so freaking freaky. I was watching it and I'm like, man, this is like that's the 80s edge that I think is missing in a lot of things, where they're not afraid to like make things look really weird. I love him as Robocop once he is that robot, and it's just like this emotionless face on like a robot.
And also like cool. Peter Weller was cast simply because of the fact that he had a distinctive lower jaw, and he was skinny enough to fit into the suit.
I'm sure he loved that.
Yeah, and he actually he worked with a mime trainer, a guy who trains mimes, in order to get like the movements down. But as soon as he put on the suit, it was like so bulky and heavy that none of the training worked. So like him and his mind coach had to like figure out how to move in the suit.
Oh wow.
And it was like super uncomfortable for him. Like I think he lost like, I don't know, 6 gallons of water a day just being
from sweating his ass off inside the suit. Yeah, I believe
he's crazy method too, isn't he? Like, isn't Paul Weller pretty?
And in fact, he insisted that people call him Robo on.
Oh my God!
And
really?
And the guy who plays the bad guy, Rhett Foreman, I forget his name. But
it's Red.
Red.
Terrence Boddicker.
Dumbass.
Is that his name? Terrence Boddicker.
I kept waiting for him to
say like Maurice or something.
Kurtwood Smith. That's his name.
No, the character's name. Terrence Boddicker.
Clarence Boddicker, yeah.
Clarence, yeah.
But Kurtwood Smith, like when he heard that, he was just like, "Give me a fucking break." He just ignored Peter Weller on set.
Oh my God,
I'm with him.
Yeah. So, you know, my favorite line, I think, top 10 favorite line of any movie at any time, everywhere.
Yeah,
was when he goes into the dude's house when he's with the hookers doing the blow off their titties.
And
he's like, "Bitches leave." And it's like he delivered it so well. It was just classic scene.
It's funny because Kurtwood Smith, like he actually auditioned for the role that Miguel Ferreira eventually got, and when he was cast as the bad guy, he was like, "Oh, I've never been cast as a bad guy before. I've always been like the brainy dude." And Paul Verhoeven just thought that he looked like this famous Nazi Himmler with his glasses, and so he was like, "I want to cast the guy who looks like a Nazi."
He reminds me of a Nazi I know.
Let's get him in the movie.
And Kurtwood Smith. Do you remember that scene where he's going in to see Jones, and he has a secretary there, and he's kind of flirting with the secretary?
Oh yeah,
that was actually Kurtwood Smith's real life wife.
Oh wow,
that he was flirting with there.
That's funny.
So I thought that was kind
of. Were they married at the time?
Yes, yes, they were married at the time. Yeah.
Oh,
that's not such a good story then.
She gave off like serious. You do not have a chance with me energy.
And
marriage.
And David,
you know what? You're right.
David, you might be interested to find that they used all the computer graphics in this movie used a Commodore Amiga computer in order to render them.
Oh, the Amiga was like state of the art. That was I wanted that. Yeah,
that's cool.
I think didn't Will Wheaton like take off to go and work with Amiga Toaster or something?
We don't talk about Will Wheaton.
You're going to set Vader off.
Oh, we don't.
Shut up, Wesley. That's all we can say about Will Wheaton.
Very good. Done. But I remember being impressed that was something that had so inspired someone that they'd gone off to follow this.
But even the CGI, but I love the practical effects in this movie.
Oh yeah,
I'm such a sucker.
All the effects were done by Phil Tippett and his team, and it was a lot of like stop motion.
Oh yeah, all of Ed
the 209 stop motion stuff's fantastic.
Yeah, everything with Ed 209 is stop motion. You can very clearly see that because there's no motion blur in it. It's just like walking like.
And Peter Weller, when he got in and out of the car, like his Robocop suit was like too big, and so every time you see Robocop driving in the movie, it's Peter Weller in his underwear because he couldn't wear like the bottom half of the suit.
So he's just wearing the top half of the suit.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was like his COVID wear.
Can I talk to you guys about the freaking car? Because I feel like they thought it was way more badass than it really was.
Okay.
Because it was a freaking like 1984 Ford Taurus with like matte back black paint.
Okay, hold on. There's a story to this. There's a story. Okay, so you know how in the movie there's this joke about the 6000 SUX?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically the Pontiac had come out with a 6000 series Pontiac. And at the time, Ford had just released the Taurus, and it was the most futuristic-looking car that was on the road.
You guys were goofy back then.
And so
I think I had one.
I had a Ford Taurus too. It was my first car.
Yeah.
So when this movie was shooting, they got Ford to sponsor them by donating the cars for the film.
Okay.
And in order to get Ford to agree to do that, they had to take a dig at the Pontiac, which is why 6000 Sucks is in the movie. As a dig at
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. That's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and that's the reason why the Ford Tauruses are the cop cars in the film is because Ford was like, "Oh, you're going to take a dig at Pontiac? We're in."
Oh my God, they look so lame. I just looked them up. They really do.
That's the whole time I was watching. I'm like, here's a badass robotic, like half cyborg cop rolling down Detroit, like fighting crime, and he's driving like the worst car.
And they have like an extra little like little funnel for air by the door.
So silly.
Listen, children. In 1987, those cars were cool.
Okay, all right, I guess.
Were they?
No, probably not.
Can we talk about the? I want to talk about the guy. The sabotage, not the sabotage guy. The guy who had the hostages. And they were like, "What do you want, Jim?" And he's like, "I want a freaking 6000 SUX and a pizza and like $500.
And I want my job back.
I want my job back." Like that was the most obtuse freaking like
but that
hijacking ever. It was so ridiculous.
That was just kind of in the vein of the movie. I mean,
but that was also based off of a real incident. And but the most interesting part about that scene was when they did the thermo scan.
Yeah,
it was actually all the actors had to have this special paint put on them that they filmed separately.
Oh, that's
cool. And then
cool.
they like superimposed it in the film.
Neat. I thought that was like CG or something.
But the funny part is when that guy goes out the window, when Robocop like throws him out the window. So it was a dummy, and the dummy lands really weird.
Yeah.
And they just kept it in the movie. There's a little foot sticking up in the corner there.
Yeah, the dummies never landed, and they always flew a little too much.
They float a little bit.
Yeah, little updraft.
Same thing happened in was it Highlander 2? I think they had a very clearly a dummy fall somewhere, and it was like, oh, that's
but we weren't that critical about that kind of stuff back then.
I guess not.
Well, we didn't know how they made films.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. I think there's such an understanding of the way film is made now that has completely changed the way people watch film. I mean, watching my kid watch films is so depressing because he's just like, oh, cartoon time. As soon as you go into animation stuff, it's like they understand. There's so much stuff on YouTube about how they make stuff, that I like back then it was all magic. It was like, and then when you opened the pages of Fangoria and discovered how they'd done whatever, you'd be like, oh my God.
There's I know we're not supposed to, I guess we got blocked last time we talked about TikTok on our show, but freaking, I follow somebody on TikTok who works in the prop industry, and he was talking about the scene in Home Alone when Macaulay Culkin's walking down the street and his garbage bags, or not garbage bags, the grocery shacks open up and all his stuff falls out on the sidewalk.
Right.
And everybody was like, how do they freaking do that? There's no CGI. It was all just practical effects. And I was like, his explanation for it was really freaking cool. I'll leave it a mystery, but they used fishing wire or something like that. But I thought I'm like, movie magic in the 80s was so freaking cool. I loved it. I think it made people more creative when making movies. Like nowadays, I just watched Jungle Cruise, the Disney movie with The Rock and stuff. It was like a cartoon. There was nothing real.
I don't know why they bother with the actors. Just just get your metahumans.
Exactly. Like the only thing real in that movie was the 3 movie stars that were in it. Everything else was.
So, David, have you had an experience where you have to like act against the blue or green screen? Is it hard?
Yeah, it's easier than some actors in some cases, but it's it's. I mean, I always feel like acting on set is such an oddly unnatural thing anyways. Like I've never understood method actors on set because you still have a giant freaking camera and a crew standing there. It's very hard to, how can you be a robot if you're in a costume and there's people pointing cameras at you? But the weird thing about acting is that you are at the same time trying to completely ignore the camera while being incredibly aware of where it is and what it's doing, because you obviously have to. So it is, I think it's in a way, acting to a blue screen or acting to a person sometimes could be just as difficult. So
I grew up with the Star Wars prequels, and I remember the behind the scenes photos was just like,
I'm so sorry,
it was just Liam Neeson and Natalie Portman just on a blue screen. I'm like, well, that's kind of a boring picture.
David's my best friend.
He's my best friend. Yeah, I know. Can we get together and talk about Star Wars?
My wife wouldn't let me tell our son that unfortunately George Lucas had died in a tragic after doing the first 3 films.
Oh my God,
he's been replaced by a clone.
God damn it, David! I need to buy you a drink when you come to Vegas, man.
There you go.
All right.
So one of the interesting things about this movie is that originally Orion wanted David Cronenberg to direct it, and they wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger to star in it as RoboCop.
Ooh. Of course they did.
Yeah, of
man, that'd be kind of fun to see, though.
Yeah,
it would.
And Cronenberg was like, "This isn't my type of movie. I'm going to pass on it." And everyone was like, Schwarzenegger would never fit into the outfit.
Yeah.
And so like they had to basically change up the roster that they had planned for this movie and go with like a completely unknown Dutch director and this guy who was just skinny enough to fit into this outfit that they had created.
I'm trying to just picture this. Dead or alive, creep, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
Does that work?
There's going to be trouble.
You know the scene in this movie that scarred me for life, though, is something that gave me nightmares. It's the scene where it's an 80s movie, so of course there's an attempted rape.
Right.
And RoboCop...
Every freaking 80s movie.
Every 80s movie.
It's like if you saw a girl, you just raped her.
No big deal.
But the scene where RoboCop basically shoots the guy's nuts off through the dress.
Oh, yeah.
Like that when I first saw that, I had nightmares of my nuts getting shot off.
Why? Were you like planning on raping somebody?
No, it was because like you saw like the bloody patch on his crotch, and I was just like, that hurt.
They didn't shy away from anything in this movie.
Nobody gives a shit about the girl who just almost got raped. But we're like, oh my God, those guy's balls. Are they okay?
They did give
That's
a shit.
so 80s, though. That's entirely the 80s
You
right
are
there.
100% correct.
Listen,
in fact, Vader will tell you all about the trifecta.
Robocop cared because he asked her if she was okay and that he was going to contact a rape support center.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, is that what he said?
Look at that. Right there.
Yes.
So he did care.
It was part of his programming. He's like, are you okay? I will reach out to a local rape. Yeah, I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. No, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he did. I think he did say that too. You're in shock.
He said, you are in shock. I will contact the closest rape counseling center.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, wow. That's good.
It's very nice of
them. Good for them.
Very nice of
That's
Robo.
better than most 80s movies.
Do you want to tell David about what the 80s movie trifecta is, Vader?
No, what is, sorry, I don't know this.
Oh, rape, boobs, and midgets.
Yes. And there's only...
God, that's so true.
So far, there's only one movie that fits all 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called Creeps.
And ironically, it was made in the 90s.
And I think Deathstalker also.
Deathstalker fits the bill. Yes, Deathstalker.
I feel like there was a Chevy Chase movie that may have had that. was like he was a God. What was it? Yeah, I feel like there was one. Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up. Please keep talking amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go do some research.
We came up with that after we've watched like 2 dozen
Deathstalker. Yeah, Deathstalker and Deathstalker 2. We kind of came up with like, wow, this is like the quintessential 80s masterpiece. God, those movies are ridiculous. All right. Yeah.
Well, my son asked about that because he said like, why does every movie like all of the old movies that we show him, why does it always have to have a rape in it? And I was like, well, I think it was the only way that a very male industry could say this is a very bad person.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's okay to kill this person because they're very bad.
There's only 2 people you're allowed to kill: Nazis and rapists in movies.
And rapists. That was
so
it.
Steven Spielberg almost always goes with Nazis. Like when every movie, the Nazis are the bad guys. You can kill them.
Safe bet.
Like rapist.
Leave it to the Dutch guy.
I want the guy who looks like a Nazi and the rapist.
Yes, perfect.
You remind me of a Nazi.
Charles Band was like, "Give me my rapist."
All right, let's polish this off. Final thoughts, Vader, on the first RoboCop. Yeah,
dude, this is high up there on my pantheon of 80s action movies. I'm going to give it a 4.
Oh, that's solid.
I'm giving it a 4 because it's this is a good movie. I mean, it's goofy. It's everything you want in an 80s action movie.
It's got the one-liners.
It's got the one-liners. It's got the gore. It's got the boobs. It's got everything you want.
You're giving it 4 what though?
I'm giving it. I don't know. I'm just giving it 4. I don't do that weird stuff you do. I'm giving it 4 stars.
Okay.
And that's probably a little more than it deserves, but that's what I'm getting.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Nostalgic all goes on. Is that 4 stars? So it's 3.5 plus half star for boobs? Is that what's happening?
Okay.
Here? Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay,
that's
cool.
fine. As long as it's 4, I don't care.
All right. Jude, how about you? Final thoughts on RoboCop?
It's just good, clean fun.
Yeah.
No, I think it's one of those 80s movies that it doesn't get old, and even if it doesn't age well, it still ages well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's fun. I watched it a year ago with Tom, another guy that we sometimes have on the podcast. So this is fun for me. I like going back and revisiting the 80s, and I will give it 3 out of 5. I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I'll do that.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'll do that.
Buy that for $1.
I'll do that for my
the number of times we said that.
I'll reserve that for I'll just do my final thoughts right now, and then I'll go to Kadish and then David. So the references in this movie, like there's so many cultural things that I've grown up with, and I had no
idea where they came from.
No idea where they came from. Oh, there's gonna be trouble. I'm like, that actor said that in the new Star Trek movie, Into Darkness or whatever, with J.J. Abrams. Yep. Like he said that line, and I'm like, that's a weird line to say. Freaking no idea it came from this movie.
That's why I give this movie a 4. It was
influential. I'd buy that for $1. I was like, oh, that's an interesting saying that I've always heard, and I have no idea where it came from. And I watched this week, and I was like, oh shit, that's where this came. Like I can't even remember how many times I was watching this movie going, oh, that's where that comes from?
Yeah.
It was really cool to like kind of
leave.
Yeah, bitches leave. Like all that shit.
Bitches leave.
I was like, oh, that's freaking cool, man. I had no idea it came from RoboCop.
And all of the commercials. They're so nostalgic. I love that.
Yeah, so like, instead of Battleship, it's Nukem.
Yeah, Nukem. Oh my God, you guys.
I wanted that game.
You guys were just so obsessed with nuking people in the 80s.
Well, it was the thing.
Hilarious.
It was the answer to everything.
Yeah.
In grade school, I still had to do duck and cover drills.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
What the hell? How old are you?
I'm 51.
Oh my God.
Okay.
51, you're a baby.
I remember.
I'm 170 years old.
It was like 2nd grade, and
I had like
Nowhereville, Oregon, dude, and we still had to do duck and cover.
Oh, my generation,
Alex. Though, what about the commercial for the 6000 sucks?
Yeah,
with the stop motion dinosaur.
Oh my God, yes.
I was like, there are dinosaurs in this movie. Alex is gonna love it.
Yeah.
So, what's your grade?
It's probably 3.5.
Okay.
It's a real solid, fun 80s movie. I love it. I don't have the nostalgia, so that's where the half star goes. I don't have the nostalgia for it, but I watched it and I was like, oh man, it's dirty, it's grimy, it's sweary, there's boobs, there's violence.
Yep.
I'm like, this is freaking 80s. Perfect. I'm in. Kadish, how about you, buddy? What's your final thoughts on this one?
So I grew up watching this movie. It was a big part of my childhood. I loved it. It's very influential. It was Paul Verhoeven's kind of like foray into American cinema, and he changed everything after that. You know, he's just one of those influential filmmakers. I love watching his movies. I love his style. It was a great film. It's one of those films I can watch this movie again and again and again and never get tired of it. The satire is on point. Everything about this movie just works for me. I love the 80s aesthetic where it's the boardroom with like the tube TVs and like the different rows and stuff like that. You know, it just kind of, whenever I think of like corporate America, this movie pops into my mind. Yeah. And so I have to give it a 5 bloody crotch shots. This is a classic.
Holy shit.
This is a classic for me. This is a classic.
Okay.
Wow, 5 stars.
You know what? I respect that.
I did not see that coming.
I really didn't. But I respect that.
All right, David, you're up, buddy. What's your final thoughts on RoboCop?
I feel guilty because I completely crashed this party and I haven't seen the movie in as long as most of you have been alive. But I would probably, I'm not sure I'd go 5. Because I would have to put I'd put the original Blade Runner at probably 5, but so I would go like maybe 4.5.
Okay, it was 4.5 stars.
I have all the retro stuff. It made me want to be a cyborg. Like I've been obsessed with like assistive tech and man machine stuff ever since. So yeah, it had a huge impact on me. You know what I mean?
Right on.
And it's your move, creep. I love there's so many lines. It's just like I can't even. Oh, and I found the movie, by the way, Foul Play. I believe Foul Play has the it was a 1970s film.
It has the
trifecta. We're gonna have to watch that movie.
I don't remember anything about it except I remember this poor little person being thrown out of a building and landing in a garbage can and being rolled down a street and as a child.
Is that a Chevy Chase movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
And as a child, I started crying in the theater because I felt sorry for him. I was so young.
I remember this movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And I love Goldie Hawn, so yeah, I've definitely.
Oh yeah, me too. Oh my god, I loved it. Yeah, absolutely.
Married
funny.
To Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they were. Have they split?
Are they still married?
No. They never got married. They just.
Oh, okay.
They're life
They're
partners.
too cool to get married.
Yeah. We named
they have an island in Ontario, up here somewhere.
We named our dog Kurt Russell Terrier.
Our dog's called Huzzah because I was watching The Great.
I love that.
Also, Overboard, one of the best movies.
Yeah, Overboard is great.
Overboard. Oh my god. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, or Private Benjamin.
Yeah. Or Captain Ron. Dude, Captain Ron is so freaking funny.
I love Goldie Hawn.
Wildcats is my Goldie Hawn feel-good movie.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for RoboCop, the first movie. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about RoboCop 2 right after we take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you want to buy some awesome swag and help support the podcast, go to saltynerdstore.com. That is where you guys can get our designs, designed by myself and Matthew Kadish. They are some great t-shirts. You get Peace, Love, Dinosaur, which is what I'm wearing right now.
I guess we need to design one.
Yeah, you guys. Oh, Jude's wearing the official Salty Nerd podcast shirt right there. And Kadish, you have one on today? No, not today.
He's wearing Cobra Kai.
I'm going strike fast, strike hard.
Okay, gotcha. Right on. But every dime that you guys support us with by buying merch goes directly back into the podcast so we can make better and better content for you. It goes into our production value and also getting cool people like David Hewlett to come on our podcast. Holy shit.
Yeah, we're paying out the nose for David Hewlett here.
Yeah, big money.
He doesn't come cheap, okay?
It's going to cost you a hat. It's going to cost you a hat at least.
Done. We'll shake hands on that one. All right. So the next movie on our list, RoboCop 2. Jude, take it away. What is this movie all about?
Sir. 1990 RoboCop 2, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour 57 minutes. This had a budget of $25 million. What do you think this brought into the box office?
I'm sorry, how much?
$25 million.
That sounds about right. This movie's trash.
No, that was the budget.
Yeah, I know. They didn't spend much money on this freaking thing.
That was more than they spent on the first.
Was it? How much did they spend on the first?
It was like 18 million.
13.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Doubled.
What? They doubled it?
Doubled it.
And it
what
got doubly worse?
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
Why don't you just give it a guess, Alex?
60 million, maybe. I don't know.
You aim too high. Vader?
The aim's too high?
Mm-hmm.
She gave it away. Damn.
45 million.
David, how much do you think this movie
David
made?
Hewlett, what do you think this movie
I'd go
made?
like maybe 30.
Vader wins with $45.6 million.
Nice.
I never win.
Well played, Vader.
I never win. Yes.
So, Murphy and his partner are back in blue, keeping the citizens of Detroit safe. There's a new drug nuke sweeping the streets. Everybody's doing it, even the cops. Well, maybe just the dirty ones. When a gang traps and dismantles RoboCop, OCP decides to make a bigger, badder version of RoboCop out of Kane, the gang leader who thinks he's God. Robo-Kane just wants to be able to do drugs again and goes on a killing tantrum through Detroit. When RoboCop offers him a nice shiny canister of nuke, it's too tempting for Robo-Kane to pass up. And it's just the distraction that gives RoboCop the advantage. God, please discuss.
This movie is freaking hot.
See, that was better than watching the movie. Right there. Honestly, that was way better than the movie.
Oh, thank you.
There's
dude, you know what the first movie didn't need?
What?
A 13-year-old running a freaking like.
I thought that was the best part of the movie.
So stupid. The little kid is in like a 3-piece suit,
Dude, he's
sitting
ruthless.
like a freaking gangster. Like, I'm gonna give you $50 million for these freaking drugs.
You don't screw with that kid. He'll just whack you ass.
Oh, dude, it took me out of the movie so bad. I was like, I can't.
Listen, that kid.
But we have like 14-year-old .com millionaires.
That's right.
Booty shoes.
Booty shoes. Yeah. That's a reference to Mythic Quest.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mythic Quest. Oh my God.
I don't know, Vader. Do you like this movie?
No.
Okay. Thank God.
No, everything that the first movie was, this movie wasn't. Okay, yeah. This they tried, and they try to keep within the same gist of things with the satire and the goofy commercials and the news reporters and stuff. It just failed on every level. It's like they lost something. It's like I don't know what it was exactly, but they went.
They lost their edge.
Where the first movie was kind of like a reflection of where things were going. Maybe this movie kind of took it to the next level and then almost made it.
It was way too campy.
Way too campy and satirical.
Yeah.
It was
cartoony.
It didn't work. Even the "I'll buy that for $1" just didn't even like resonate again in this movie like it did in the first one. It just everything seemed like a really bad ripoff. I get the whole nuke thing. The cocaine thing was crazy and drugs were wild back then, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work for me. And
the anti-capitalist freaking message in this movie was hardcore.
Yeah,
like they went full on.
That kind of goes to the whole.
I mean, there was a bit in the first one. There was definitely like an anti-establishment corporation type thing. This one went,
which I have no problem with.
No, typically I don't either. This one I think went a little overboard with it.
Yeah. What's funny is politically, like Verhoeven and Edward Neumeier, who wrote the first movie, they're kind of left-leaning. And with this movie, Frank Miller, he's a very hard-right libertarian type guy who wrote this movie, and so like. Apparently, original drafts of the script were like super right wing, and everyone in Hollywood was like, no.
Jude, what did you think about this one?
Oh boy, this was not enjoyable at all.
I'm so happy I'm not the only one.
I felt like when I saw that it was an hour and 57 minutes, those extra 12 minutes. They feel a lot longer. Like this movie just feels so long. And like it takes so long to get to the movie. It's like here's some shit that doesn't matter. Here's some more shit that doesn't matter. Like the first movie just gets to it. And it's succinct and enjoyable. And you could just be like, okay, here's the movie I'm watching. Got it. This movie is like, oh, is it about, no? Oh, okay. Is it about, no? Oh, okay. Here, who's this dumb bitch? Oh, I don't care. And it takes forever to fucking get there. And then by the time you get there, you're just like, fuck, is this over yet?
David, did you see this thing in theaters when it came out?
I must have, because I remember aspects of it, but it suffered from that, from what I remember, it suffered from that kind of like, oh, what worked in the first one? Let's do it again, but better.
Right.
But now that we're aware that it's what people like, it just felt,
it felt like a cash grab.
Messy.
Yeah, this is. I think this was like a prime example of sequelitis.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Of a company going like, what? It worked. Great, do it again.
Yeah.
So
but bigger.
We need to sell more RoboCop action figures.
Yeah. Well, that's the third one with the freaking jetpack, but we'll get there.
Those sons of bitches.
Well, and this was
all
before
have
the
heads.
sequel thing was legit. Like in a way, like it became it was always I mean, sequels were not a good sign in the 80s. It was never like they were never seen as I mean, well, maybe this is just my perspective, but from what I remember was that it was that, you know, a sequel was just a ripoff, was just there to make money out of the first one. Yeah. Like that was the point of them. They didn't. Now they're sort of far more accepted. I mean, God, I went to the theater to see, you know, Fast and Furious 50 or whatever it was. You know, and I regret it.
That movie was so bad.
Oh my God, it was so bad. It was almost became a masterpiece in how bad it was.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we called it.
Said.
Yeah, we said
that.
It's
so bad, it's good.
Yeah, they went
the
to
space stuff. I was just like, wow,
dude.
Even just a nod to physics would be nice.
Just to talk about that really quick, I think what we liked about that movie, it was really, really bad, but it was weird because they were so self-aware.
Yeah.
That it was bad, that it made it kind of amusing.
This is the thing. So, like you guys talk about the 80s movies that are so bad they're good. Like that's a genre in and of itself.
Yes.
And I talked about the Fast and Furious movies being the new era of so bad it's good because they've become self-aware.
For sure.
They're like, we know we're terrible and we're gonna have fun with it. Like that movie was so tongue-in-cheek.
I was just gonna say Robocop 2 is not self-aware.
No,
they were trying.
They think they're doing it right.
They were trying to recapture the magic of the first one, and they missed.
Yeah,
hard.
Kadish, what are your general thoughts on this second movie?
All right, so this movie was a direct result of Orion Pictures teetering on bankruptcy with the first.
There you go.
Yeah, the first movie was such a surprise hit. They were like, we need to get a sequel out now so that we can get some money. So they really rushed the production of the sequel, and basically, you know, the two original writers from RoboCop came back, Edward Neumeier and Mark Miner, and they came up with a concept called RoboCop: The Corporate Wars. And in this movie, RoboCop gets killed in the opening 10 minutes. He gets crushed or exploded or something, and then they bring him back 25 years later. They resurrect him, and in the time that he's been out of it, things have gotten even more dystopian, and basically corporations run everything, and they're all fighting with each other and all this weird stuff. There was a drug called a smudge that was kind of sweeping.
It's made out of sage.
Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, what they had planned was going to be too expensive for Orion, so they kind of put the nix on that. And during this time, a Writers Guild strike happened. And so Neumeier and Miner couldn't work on the script, and they got fired. But before they got fired, Neumeier said, hey, I want to recommend my replacement. If you can, get Alan Moore, who's a great comic book writer. And if you can't get him, get Frank Miller. And so they went to Alan Moore, and Alan Moore was like, fuck off. I don't do movies. And then they went to Frank Miller, and Frank Miller was like, I want to do this. So this was Frank Miller's first screenplay. And so he came up with this whole story that completely got rewritten for the final product. But they actually made a 9-part comic book series out of his original screenplay, which was excellent. It's really good.
When you told me that this was a Frank Miller written movie, I was really shocked because this is terribly written.
Yeah, so basically, there's a story behind the writing of this movie where there was a different director attached leading up to about 3 weeks before production was set to start, and he was the guy who was
always a good sign.
Yeah, he was the guy working with Frank Miller on the story and all these elements, and then he quits. He just up and quits because he didn't like working with Orion. So they bring in this new director, and do you guys know who the director of this movie was?
Please.
I remember seeing it in the credits, but now I'm blanking on it now.
So the guy who directed this movie is Irvin Kershner, the guy who directed Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
I
was watching this god awful movie, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what kind of schlub freaking directed this piece of shit. And then it said
Irvin Kershner.
I'm like, that's my mind exploded. That's freaking Empire Strikes Back. He's what made Star Wars.
He's a good one.
Yeah. He had his previous film had been Empire Strikes Back, and this was his last movie before he died.
Oh no! Why'd you got to tell me that, man?
and so Irvin Kershner came in and took over the production of this movie, and he instantly started ripping apart Frank Miller's script.
So was this a solo Ron Howard type of situation?
Not necessarily, because the production hadn't started already. But Kershner brought in the guy who had written the Wild Bunch screenplay to do a rewrite on Frank Miller's script. And so they went into production with this rewritten Frank Miller script, and it was just a mess. Like every morning, like I think an actor actually talked about this, like Kershner would be on set and he'd just be ripping pages out and throwing them away. And Frank Miller was on set every day, and he'd be there and he'd like do like on-set rewrites as they were going along. And so this movie was pieced together. They were basically writing it as they went. And they were following like the loose outline of what Frank Miller had originally had. But he was very sparse on dialogue. So a lot of the stuff that Kershner added was dialogue, and he tried to add a little bit more humor to the story. But this movie was just a mess from beginning to end because of that. And when they got to the final act of the movie, Peter Weller was complaining. He's like, there's no third act here. Like, are you guys going to actually like film a third act? Because this movie just ends and there's no emotional resonance here. Like Murphy didn't have like a character arc or anything like that. And Kershner's just like, meh.
No fucks given.
Yeah, and people apparently all the actors hated working with Kershner.
Oh no!
Like they just said that he was very difficult to work with, and I had a terrible experience on this film. David, have you ever had an experience where like the working set like on set atmosphere just wasn't very good?
Oh yeah, and it's awful. It's almost always trickle down of some sort. It's either comes from the producers or the lead or the director, and it's awful. It's just, there's nothing worse than, there's nothing more horrible than being on a set and you can feel the tension and I'm such an idiot. I just want to break the tension all the time, so.
Yeah. I think in this situation, Orion was like micromanaging. And so like they were coming in and just demanding a bunch of changes and keeping everything like on time and on budget. In fact, Kershner finished this movie, I think, a week ahead of schedule or something like that. And
so the checks have cleared. He's done his job.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of breaks my heart a little bit because I kind of put him on a pedestal. Because like Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest.
Him and Frank Miller. Frank Miller, by all accounts, was a great writer up to this point. And then like he had such a traumatic experience with this that when they offered him RoboCop 3, he jumped at the chance because he wanted redemption. And then that ended up being even worse. Oh my God.
Yeah, don't look to Hollywood for redemption. It ain't the way to
go. Not the place to go.
I think about this movie and I'm trying to think of like some memorable scenes and stuff.
There really isn't.
I feel like I can think about like the scene in the warehouse where it's just the shootout. I think it was kind of over the top and crazy, but there really wasn't a whole lot of memorable scenes in this movie. The weird CGI with Kane.
Do you remember
the robot and the screen?
It was very Lawnmower Man.
Remember the brain in a vat of liquid with the eyeballs? Yeah. That was laughable, dude.
That was very Mars Attacks.
I did laugh at the prototype RoboCops.
Oh yeah,
from that scene.
You know what that made me?
He's all like, "Kill me now!"
Oh, dude, it was horrific when that one took his helmet off and he was like screaming underneath it and he shot himself.
That was brutal.
I was like, "Holy shit!"
You know what was the funniest part of this movie is when the psychiatrist lady basically programs RoboCop to be an SJW.
Oh my God!
If you look at all of his, directives, it's like be kind and understanding.
And he just like
I'll offer consolidation.
Dude, he would walk around and tell. Dude, that's the other thing about this movie. I'm really, really not into kids like acting like adults in movies. When these kids are like, "F you, RoboCop," like I was like, nope, no,
cringe, right?
Oh, so bad, dude. Yeah. It's like,
but you know what's weird is that if you ever go play like online video games, like any of them really, you're gonna get sweared out by a 10-year-old, and it's really weird.
It's crazy
when it happens because the 50-year-old grandpa in me wants to go, listen, you little shit.
You can't freaking talk like that. Just like, I'm gonna call your mom.
You need to learn some respect, but. It's goofy because
there's a scene in this movie where a guy is smoking and RoboCop takes his gun and like fires all around like his head.
Yeah,
he's like, "Thank you for not smoking."
Yeah,
and that one clip was used as a PSA in every movie theater for like years.
Oh my God,
to warn people not to smoke in the theater.
Classic '80s. Classic '80s. I love it.
Yeah, we used to be able to smoke at the back of a few theaters in Toronto. You go to the back and smoke, and it was God.
I actually wanted to ask you something about this, David, because of the rewriting situation going on set, oftentimes the actors in this movie wouldn't get their lines until like 10 minutes before they were supposed to shoot.
Nightmare.
Yeah. Like, have you ever had an experience like that? And how does it affect a performance?
It happens on TV all the time. And again, there's the assumption that if you're someone who says a lot of lines, that you're very good at learning lines. So I'm always have to go, okay, you want me to, I'm going to need a little bit of time to go and learn this type thing. And they're always like, oh, no, take your time. Of course, you just got the sides. And you're like, you don't mean that. Because it's like, we're here and you're going to be shooting. I think it's one of the perils of television, I think, in a lot of cases, where there's just especially the first season, when there's a lot of people involved, a lot of people interested in what's going on. Movies, it's always terrifying because you get actors who'll show up on set and go, hey, I've been giving it some thought. I've been giving it all of my 2 weeks thought. And I think you should change this about the script that you've been working on for the last 10. So I'm always a bit, that's always like a test right there. You can see within the first week whether there's going to be problems or not. Because I mean, I've got to sets where people have just like literally shown up with a computer and started rewriting the script. And you're like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh man, it's very, very rare that ever works out in the show's favor. Like we've talked about like some rare instances where like, they were kind
Lord
of
of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is one of them. Peter Jackson was writing that script as he went, but it's one of the best movies ever freaking made.
But they also had a book.
And he's got good material to work with.
And he's got good material. Yeah. But like when we get, movies like what was it, Justice League, the theatrical version of Justice League, where they were just changing shit and cutting things out, and it was just like, oh man, that was a disaster.
Yeah.
So RoboCop 2. Okay, so the one thing I wanted to talk about was how horrific the villain was once he became like a robot. That like laughable
Robo-Kane.
Robo-Kane, like
Robo-Kane.
Or as they like to point out, RoboCop 2.
RoboCop 2. It was kind of like Ghostbusters 2, where they changed the symbol. It just didn't work. That whole system, like why would you go through the effort of like, he has a pull down screen where you can see some weird, like really bad CGI face.
And then the iPad comes out.
Yeah, the iPad comes out. This is just so stupid.
With his weird little face on it.
He's obsessed with a drug. Like, why is a cyborg give a crap about a freaking drug? Like, it doesn't.
Because his brain was addicted to it. It released chemicals in the brain, but also the RoboCop suit in this movie, it went from awesome, like silver to blue for some reason.
I did notice a change.
Something like
it did look off. It almost looked like one of those instances where it's like 25% different to keep the copyright or whatever.
The one thing I did notice about
police uniform.
Was it?
The one thing I noticed about all three of these movies that I kind of laughed at through every single one is that every single time Murphy got his ass kicked, dented, shot up, destroyed, scratched, whatever, the very next scene he was put back together.
Yeah.
He always looked good.
Was this the movie?
He had a really good body shot back at the cop station.
Was this the movie where they dropped him off on the sidewalk in pieces, or was that the third one? That was this one. Yeah. Oh my god, dude. That was so laughable. What a way to present your hero. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Final thoughts, Vader, on RoboCop 2.
Oh man, I know they tried, but they failed miserably. You know, I give the first one a 4. I'm gonna really stretch it and give it a 2.
Okay.
Because I have to have a little room for the next movie.
Okay.
That's the only reason this movie gets 2. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So I'm going 2.
Because they made a third one.
Yes. It's because they made a third one. This is a 2 rating, and not good. Not good.
Not a great one.
This isn't the way you sequel something.
Yeah. I think like the 80s was a great time for blockbusters, right? The 80s blockbusters, Predator and Ghostbusters, all that stuff. This is also the era of the worst sequels ever made.
For sure. 100%.
The money grabs.
Yeah, the money grabs. Mm-hmm. Jude, final thoughts.
Not good. and Vader was like, well, they tried. And I, when he said that, I was like, did they?
Yeah.
God, I don't even have any final thoughts for it. It felt so long. And by the time we got to the story, I was just like, I don't even care. And like, I missed Rudd Foreman.
I know, right?
I agree. It's a 2 nukes out of 5.
There you go.
2, okay.
Just because there's a third one.
Yeah.
Right. David, how about you? What are your final thoughts on RoboCop 2?
Yeah, I would agree with the not good. I do remember there was funny. You brought it up, and I went and looked on YouTube for it. I remember there being a section that the whole failed RoboCops, and I remember loving that. Yeah. I remember just laughing my ass off about how twisted that was. so there was at least a little bit of stuff in there, but it felt like they took all of the stuff that worked by getting someone from Europe to do the first one, and it was like they deep fried it and McDonald it, and it just didn't. Yeah,
that's I would give it
maybe. I would maybe give it a 3 again, just because I do remember going to the theater and I do remember that aspect where they were, those poor tortured. Okay.
That reminds me of that scene from one of the Iron Man movies where the Hammer Corporation was trying to recreate the Iron Man suit, and the test pilots were getting like injured trying to turn, they broke the guy's back and stuff. Right. I think that might be a reference. Could that be a reference? I don't know.
I think
it's a bit of a stretch.
I think you're thinking about it too much.
Maybe. Kadish, how about you, bud? Final thoughts.
So I read the comic book that was based off of Frank Miller's original script for this movie, and it was awesome. It was really freaking good. The artwork and the storyline, it all made sense. This movie, it was such an uneven film. The ideas were good. I think like the kernel of the ideas were there, but they just failed to really pull it off.
Yeah.
I was going to say something very profound.
You sound like you're going to cry.
I'm sure it was.
I'm so depressed.
Yeah, David Hewlett's keyboard distracted me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I was looking up. God. I was looking up his. I didn't realize it was that loud. Sorry.
God damn it, Hewlett! You're ruining the show.
That's it. Is he still here?
But like it had good talent involved in this movie, and I wanted it to be good. The original concept for a sequel to RoboCop was going to be RoboCop versus Terminator. Like Orion wanted to do that crossover. And eventually I think we got it in a comic book form, but in the movie form,
I'm sorry, but Terminator would kick RoboCop's ass, like hands down.
Maybe. But regardless, when I was watching this movie, I found it like it didn't feel like 2 hours. It felt like 6 hours. It was very slow. Like the whole kid, character, I did not like. So I can't give this anything higher than a two star, I think.
Okay.
Like it's not a good movie, but it's not like as bad as the third one is. So, yeah, I'd have to go with 2 stars.
All right. For me, this was painful to watch. It was, you guys all, especially my crew here, David, you might not know this, but I really don't like movies with kids in them. I feel like it never works. Goonies, Temple of Doom. It just shit like that. I don't believe it.
He has this hill that he's gonna die.
I'm gonna die on this hill, dude. Like
okay.
I'm trying to think of a film to prove you wrong. I'm not a big fan. Yeah, I'm sort of with you. I don't like kid actors.
I mean, kid actors in the right circumstances, I think can work. Like Jurassic Park is a good one because they had 2 kids in that movie, but they didn't do anything that was outlandish, like that the adults couldn't have done or helped them with.
Just try to
Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth. That was a kid's. The kid's perspective on stuff. I didn't like Goonies.
Oh my God!
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Now he's your best friend.
My favorite Spielberg film is Jaws. Still, or maybe Close Encounters. I mean, I don't like the kiddie stuff. Whenever the music starts going, I'm like, I'm out.
Thank you so much. Dude, I'm not alone on my hill anymore.
It's not a short round band.
I'm not alone on my hill.
It's a hill for 2 now.
I feel so happy.
That's it. It's like a double mound.
Me and Dr. McKay. Fuck them kids.
Dr. McKay does not like kids.
It is very McKay, to be fair. Of course McKay doesn't like kids.
That's very, very much so.
That just made my day. You don't even know. All right. This is a 1-star crap fest. Easily.
Wow.
It's so bad. Wow. It was painful to watch. 1-star crap fest. I didn't like the kid. I didn't like the villain. The cop. The main hero, I felt like got neutered in this movie. I struggle to find things that I like. I think that one scene where we see the test pilots come out and they like try to kill themselves because that is pretty like dark humorish kind of funny. So that was like the only thing I really liked about this movie, but everything else was hot garbage. All right, that's it for RoboCop 2. Thank you guys. We're going to go on to RoboCop 3 real quick. Before we do, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you want to join our community, go to saltynerddiscord.com. We have an awesome place there to hang out and talk all kinds of nerdy stuff. And we have chat rooms for just about every show that we watch, plus our weekly podcast. We have shows there where you can, or chats there where you can let us know what you think we should watch next and kind of influence the show a little bit. And shout out to all of our club members who are in our Discord every single day chatting with us. We love hanging out with you guys. It's fantastic. We love the feedback, and we love just chatting about everyday stuff with you guys. So saltynerddiscord.com, that is where you get access to all of our brains. You know, you just get to chat with the freaking salty nerds.
They get a chance to talk with me.
I know.
That should make them happy.
That makes me happy.
Because I'm a really special guy.
I wish you would have talked to me.
My mama told me that once. So.
RoboCop 3. Mm-hmm. This disaster. Go ahead, Jude. Take it away.
All right. 1993 RoboCop 3, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour, 44 minutes. It was a budget of $22 million. What do you think it made?
Oh, God. I'm guessing it made about the same, maybe 25.
Alex?
30.
V?
$30 million and $1.
Budget of $22 million. This movie made $10.6 million.
Wow. Oh, you know what? I'm glad.
Oh, man. Yeah, me too.
In a world where the gross pores keep standing in the way of Detroit utopia, Murphy and his partner get gunned down while defending the homeless from OCP, who's inexplicably still in charge. Dr. Lazarus, the top OCP scientist, gets Murphy back online, and he's on a mission to avenge his partner. There's Terminator 2 ninja robots, flying Robocop, and a revolution of displaced Detrojans. Discuss.
This movie is such a freaking insult to the original.
Which is good because, frankly, I don't think I even saw the third one.
It freaking just rips off everything cool about other movies and is like, look, guys, it felt like a freaking toy. You know what I compared this movie to? I would compare this movie to the Joel Schumacher Batman movie.
Yeah,
that was just
not bad.
2 hour long toy commercial. That's what this movie feels like. Like, oh, RoboCop's got a jetpack now. Like, get the hell out of here, man. Yeah. There's no real.
Well, the jetpack was just at the very end, but
yeah, but they talked about it the entire time.
Yeah, we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So immediately, I don't think I'd ever seen this movie before.
I hadn't either.
I really don't think I did.
First watch.
I think Kadish is the only one.
The first thing I noticed was it wasn't RoboCop.
They recast the main character.
It's not Peter Weller.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Well, he made the right decision. Probably when they were like, hey, do you want to make a third one? He was like, no.
Well, he wasn't available.
He wanted to come back for it, but he was shooting Naked Lunch with David Cronenberg at the time. And so he wasn't able to work it into his schedule.
Dodge that bullet.
I was just faux Robo, and they killed Murphy.
Yeah. And it's PG-13.
And it's PG-13. They couldn't do.
You know what?
It felt like TBS or something wanted to make a TV movie out of RoboCop to sell toys.
So Orion Pictures was teetering on the brink of bankruptcy at this point. And they had had a lot of success with RoboCop as a cartoon and with toys and stuff like that. And so they wanted the third movie to be available to these teenagers who kind of grew up on RoboCop and bought the toy and watched the cartoons. So they mandated it be a PG-13 movie. That was like the first mistake.
So
they neutered the whole franchise.
Well, they did that in the second one, I feel like, and then they doubled down on it.
At least the second one was still trying to be rated R and had its things. Mm-hmm. It's nothing was as good as the first one, but still,
this one. So the second one, like I said, like what RoboCop didn't need is a child actor.
No.
And then in this one, I'm like, you know what? The second one really didn't need an even younger child actor who was inexplicably good with freaking robotics.
Yeah.
Like that scene where all the adults were standing around her and they were like, we don't know what to do. Holy shit, Robocop. And she just like goes in there and like opens up his freaking canister and like takes the GPS unit out. Like, look, guys, dumbasses, this is how you do it. I'm like, nope, out. I was thrown out of this movie so quickly. I thought maybe they would try to redeem themselves after the second one. Like, oh, maybe it'll go a little edgier. No. They doubled down on everything bad about the second one. It was so painful to watch. This is like, normally you guys know for the podcast, if there's a movie that we have to watch, I watch it like 3 or 4 times during the week just to make sure that I really get it all in and I could talk about it. I watched this one. I was like, I am not watching that piece of trash again.
Yeah.
Kadish, how many times did you fall asleep while we were watching this?
I fell asleep through all these movies. Except the first one.
Okay.
But that's mostly because I'm up at 4 a.m. to try to get editing done for this stupid show.
Can we make a t-shirt? Just bitches leave.
Bitches leave from the first movie. Yeah, I mean, you can. I don't know who's going to wear it. It's kind of like
Jude wore her dick nose
Yeah.
shirt in public yesterday.
Did doing that?
What are you looking at, dick nose? That's funny because when you asked me to make that shirt, I'm like, Jude, who's going to wear that out in public? Jude.
and we were out having lunch and she was like, I can't tell if people are staring at me to read what my shirt says or because they're offended that I went out in public like this.
Yeah, we went to go eat lunch after we finished recording yesterday, and there was this guy at a table like across from us that was like eyeballing me straight in the boobs,
looking right at your tits,
while, and I didn't know whether to be like,
what are you looking at, dick nose?
Yeah, I literally was like, I don't think I have to say anything because my shirt already says it.
That shirt is available on our store.
So I just sat with the menu up in front of me for a while.
I'll make a button out of it.
So we really don't care about Robocop 3 then,
No,
huh?
we really don't. It's so forgettable. Everybody dies. They did bring back some of the characters.
They killed his partner.
The police chief and the black corporate executive guy. They're all in it. And when it's got a M, or who's the guy from Men in Black? The guy in charge.
Rip Torn is in this movie.
Yeah.
I forgot
he was a big corporate bad guy.
Does he play the same character in every movie?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was watching.
You're going to do what I tell you to do, and you're going to like how I tell you to do it.
I mean, I think people just cast him because he has a great voice.
Yeah.
Because he plays, it's just him.
Yeah.
Like even in like interviews and stuff.
What letter was he in?
Zed.
So he was Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
I liked him in Men in Black.
Dr. Lazarus, the lady scientist who brings back robots from the dead.
She was hot.
Yeah, she was in a special
hot.
victims unit or CSI or something, right?
Oh, I have no idea. I can't remember who you're talking about.
I think it was Amazing Grace that she was in.
Okay.
But Nancy Allen, who played like Murphy's partner and the worst partner ever for a cop.
Yeah, she's not good.
No,
she's always getting knocked out.
Well, she let him get killed in the first one, and then like she's never there when he needs him.
Yeah, she gets her car like flipped, and she's like, I can't get out of this now. Sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah, but she only agreed to come back for the third movie if they killed her off in the first like act of the film. She's like, I'll come back, but I need to die.
She's like Han Solo.
Because I don't want to do any more of these movies.
She pulled a Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford in that shit. Yeah.
She's like these movies are trash. I'm out.
Yeah. For sure.
I've got nothing else.
I really don't, dude.
So the police chief was in all 3 movies.
Cool.
He was cool. I like him.
I don't know what else to say about this. It was probably the worst sequel I've ever seen. It was like maybe 2016 Ghostbusters was really, really bad too, but I don't know. It was so
like really, really
it's
bad.
like really, really bad. You know, I got to say that RoboCop 3 is really not worthy of the first one. No,
it's weird to me how much the first movie can be so awesome.
Yeah.
How terrible
tell you the truth,
third
man.
movie. It's so weird how they could drop the ball so bad.
I am honestly shocked that the first movie has made as big of an impression as it has.
It's iconic.
With the other 2 being so bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised it made it out of the 80s.
You don't have to watch the other 2.
No.
Not ever, even at all. It's completely RoboCop 1 completely stands on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, the same can be said for the Jaws franchise. The first one is amazing.
Yeah.
And then they made what, 9 extra ones that were all kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Also, Verhoeven's really good at like starting franchises and then leaving, and then like other people come in and drive the franchise that he started into the ground.
Oh, he Irish goodbyes.
Yeah,
I get it.
So they did a remake of this a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was it any good?
Well, they did a remake of the original.
I remember watching it, but I don't remember.
They did it. Yeah, they remade the original.
It was
with Michael Keaton.
It was boring as fuck.
Was it?
I didn't like it.
It was
That's why I don't. I know I watched it, but I don't remember it.
It was a bit generic.
It was extremely generic.
I'd have to watch it again before I made like an opinion. Did that come out
at like the same time?
It's 2013.
Like around the same time they did like the Total Recall remake and shit.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of in that vein. Where
dude, that Total Recall remake was trash.
It's a trash movie.
Should we do another terrible reboot?
Those would be good candidates.
Those were both Verhoeven movies that were remade.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we should.
Paul Verhoeven remakes. Terrible remakes.
I'm in.
Yeah,
Can we make that a week?
Theme. That's a good.
Let's make that a week.
Gary Oldman is in the RoboCop remake.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Gary Oldman's in our chat. Like what?
Well, so Samuel L. Jackson and Jackie Earle Haley, like there's a lot of people in the remake, yeah, and in the chat.
Samuel Jackson's never.
He's in everything.
He never found a script he said no to.
Yeah. So I actually saw this movie when it came out in the theaters because, like I said before, I was a big Frank Miller fan. And I was excited that he had written the movie, and so I was like, "Oh, this RoboCop movie is gonna be badass."
He wrote this one too.
Yes. So like he wrote. So they came to him. Immediately after RoboCop 2 came out, and they were like, we need a script for RoboCop 3 because we got to get this thing out. And so he wrote a whole new story for it, and he was looking at this as like his redemption for RoboCop 2.
Oh, that's right.
And they actually turned his original RoboCop 3 script into a comic book series as well, which was actually good. Mm-hmm. But what happened here is that, so the guy who directed this movie, his name is Fred Dekker. And when Fred Dekker came on, he immediately took the script away from Frank Miller and started rewriting it. Now, do you guys recognize the name Fred Dekker?
I probably should, but no.
Nope.
No. So he is Shane Black's best friend, former roommate, and the guy who wrote and directed Monster Squad.
Oh!
Fuck that movie.
Oh, that was his thing, right? You're the one that liked that?
Yeah, he really liked Monster Squad.
Yeah, that movie's garbage.
I love Monster Squad.
No, it's terrible.
His name is Harold. That's the only thing. Horace. Sorry, I don't even remember the guy's name. Yeah.
You know what? You don't get to quote that movie. You can't get it right.
We even have a T-shirt that says that.
We do. I will never quote that movie ever again.
But Fred Dekker basically came on and took over this movie. And the person who produced the movie had done like a stint with Tales from the Crypt that Dekker was involved in. And so they had a working relationship, and the producer went to him and said like, hey, would you take over this movie because we need to get it going? And so like he came on board, and he basically completely started rewriting the Frank Miller script. And most of the bad stuff in this movie came from Dekker. I think like he's been kind of candid in interviews about it because ever since Monster Squad blew up, you know, like people interview him about stuff. And this movie basically ruined his career. Like after its failure, like he couldn't get a directing gig. And you know, he kind of came out and he was like, you know, I had plans for this movie where like I wanted to hire like a Hong Kong stunt team to come in with like the ninja, like, you know, robot assassins. And I wanted to have like wire work and like all this stuff, but it just wasn't in the budget. And his original ending had the Nancy Allen partner character come back as female RoboCop.
That. I mean, if the movie wasn't terrible, I'd be in for that.
That would have made sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he also complained that Alex Murphy's kind of character arc had been completed in the first movie, so like there wasn't anything really to do with the RoboCop character, which is why they put in like the little kid and like all this other stuff.
All of that stuff with his ex-wife and is it the second one?
Just fluff.
Ugh.
You know what? You know what does stand out a little bit is the music theme.
I cannot tell you what the music is for RoboCop.
It's pretty. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and hum it, but I remember it was pretty.
Yeah. The RoboCop theme is pretty badass.
Yeah,
like it's a good theme and it's instantly recognizable. this movie was definitely a victim of sequelitis, where they were making it for the toys, and they were making it for a quick buck. It was a quick turnaround time.
That scene where he puts the jetpack on, I was like, my eyes rolled
Available
so
now
hard.
at your local toy store.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a Kmart. It was a freaking Kmart commercial.
Did that come out as a toy?
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, I'm sure
also,
it did.
they fixed it since then, but in the theater when this originally came out, that scene at the end when RoboCop puts on the pack and then like scoops up the kid and the girl and flies away, you could see the wires.
Oh, he also had the hand attachment, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was
right.
That was another toy commercial. Yeah.
But in that end scene, you could see the wires that they were writing to shoot to make RoboCop fly. And I think they've since rotoscoped them out. But I remember sitting in the theater and just being like, ooh.
This movie is so bad.
Yeah, it's hot.
It was hot garbage.
I forget who said it, but whoever said it, the melted guy from the first one,
That's
is
me.
actually a toy.
I knew he was.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an
I knew he
action
was.
figure.
I will say there is one scene in this movie I really enjoy, and that's when the guy tries to stick up the donut shop, and all the cops just turn around with their guns.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy behind the counter is like, not exactly a rocket scientist, are you?
That was that actor who played that guy was the dude from Pirates of the Caribbean. He played one of the pirates, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the bald pirate. He's like, hello, puppet. That's that guy.
Oh.
Hello, puppet.
Hello, puppet. Yeah.
Actors tend to reappear in different movies.
No, I just thought it was like, wow, it's really cool that he got a good role instead of this
On
shitty one.
IMDb, you can go to actors and see all this shit.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
When did that
And they're all like different movies and stuff. It's goofy.
I mean, there's actually
Listen,
a
just
lot
because
of...
y'all found a new best friend today, you don't get to stop being friends with each other.
You have what's her name?
Natalie
Bronfman.
Don't you talk shit about
I'm not.
Natalie
I'm
Bronfman.
not at all.
But look, there were a lot of good actors in this movie. There was Bradley Whitford. There was CCH Pounder. There was
what is his name?
Mako. You remember Mako?
Nope.
He was the Japanese guy.
Oh yeah, the wizard from Conan.
Yeah, the wizard from Conan.
Oh, okay. He was in this movie?
Yeah. He played the Japanese
He was the head of the company.
CEO guy that took over
Oh,
The ninja, right?
Yeah. No.
No, not the ninja, the CEO guy.
Yeah, the older guy.
Okay.
We had like I said, Bradley Whitford, but we also had Stephen Root.
That was Bradley Whitford.
Yeah.
I knew he looked weird. That's a very young Bradley Whitford.
Yeah, and
Wow.
Stephen Root Melvin from Office Space. You might be Stapler.
He
Wait.
said no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was the double agent.
I picked up on him.
I picked up on him. I was like, Milton? What? Milton's in this movie? And then he was just a piece of shit. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it was cool to see these characters. Like, it's cool to see these actors in this movie, but the movie itself, I was like, God.
Shane Black had a little cameo here.
All right. Obviously, I think the final thoughts are going to go pretty much the same way for all of us. But Vader, final thoughts on RoboCop 3.
Final thoughts on RoboCop 3 is absolute waste of time and one of the worst threequels ever made. It's easily a 1-star crap fest. Don't watch it. It's just an abomination. Yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. Jude, how about you? That's what I figured.
It's a 1.5 though.
What?
You know my rule about getting angry. It didn't make me angry,
It
so
didn't?
I can't give it a 1. It made me annoyed and tired. So it's a 1.5.
Okay. Kadish, how about you?
I'm going to speak for my new best friend, Dr. Rodney McKay, as well as myself, and say that this movie is a 1-star crap fest. It had a lot of good ideas that weren't executed very well. It had a lot of talent that wasn't exploited to its fullest extent. And overall, it was, like Vader said, a terrible threequel. It shall go down in the annals of history as one of the worst third acts in a trilogy ever.
Yep.
You said anal.
Yeah. It's my word of the day from the
thesaurus.
Yeah. So David Hewlett, 1-star crap fest from him as well.
From both of you.
Yeah. For me, this is probably the worst trilogy ender that I've ever seen. It's so bad. It's so obnoxious and terrible. I did not enjoy any minute of it.
Have you seen The Rise of Skywalker?
But
that's a good fucking point, though.
Technically, that's a nice movie.
Okay, see, here's the thing.
Oh God.
Rise of Skywalker was trash as far as the story goes, and as far as like the whole Star Wars thing happens with Lucasfilm and everything. But it's pretty. Okay. This movie's not pretty.
All right.
That's all I can give that one. Like it's cool. Like they have the Millennium Falcon. It's a practical set. Right. Like I like that shit, and Chewie.
Well, what's your grade?
It's below it. What did I give the last one? A 1-star crap fest. This is like a half-star crap fest. I don't know what you call that.
We got to come up with something for
it's the blue balls of movies. It's terrible. Okay. It's not complete. I don't know where I came up with that one. That's it for RoboCop week. David, thank you so much, man. It was such a treat to have you on our
I'm sorry I never left.
So fun talking to you.
Yeah, this is great. This is such a treat for us to have you on our actual main show. This is the S&P Weekly is kind of like our bread and butter. Yeah. This is what we do every single week. And to have you as a guest host is amazing. So thank you so much. We look forward. Anytime you're in Vegas, come hang out with us. And
done.
Anytime you want to come on, if there's a movie that you want to talk about, let us know. We'd love to have you.
Keep me posted. Yeah, if there's anything that sounds like I might have an opinion on that you want, then let me know.
Okay.
If I'm around, I'm up for it.
I'm really glad that you made 2 new best friends.
3. You made 3.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, we're definitely going to have them on with Season 3 coming up.
Yes.
So. Right, of course. Yeah, sure. I forgot about that. That's right. Yes, of course.
When we cover Stargate.
Yes. So, David, real quick, your social medias, and is there anything that you want to shout out as far as your Twitch channel or anything like that?
Oh, well, I mean, Twitter is probably the best way. D Hewlett, but there's also thetechbandits.com if you want to check out any of that silly stuff.
Right on. All right, man. Thank you so much, man, for joining us.
Thank you. Enjoy. Yes, and keep it up. I look forward to seeing the empire grow.
Thank you, David, so much for hanging out with us. And guys, if you want to catch our interview with him, that'll be coming out. We talk about the new Apple TV show that he's on.
That'll be at the end of the month.
At the end of the month. And then also the club members only. We had another hour on top of what we already put out publicly. That's just for exclusive for our club members. So if you want to join up, go to saltynerdclub.com. We're also doing a special edition hat. It's for the month of December. Join up for the $30 tier. You guys get an exclusive hat, which a bunch of other perks and Discord access and all kinds of cool stuff. Plus, you get a library of our previous episodes for our club members and all that cool stuff. So jump in, saltynerdclub.com. I'm trying to finish this off so hard.
That's okay.
Matt, take it away, buddy.
Ask us
where's your socials at?
Yeah.
Jude gave me this vodka and water, and I'm just like, man.
I sometimes forget that you can't drink like I can.
Alex, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, thank you.
Because you can find me at MattVader74 on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and probably some other socials that I don't forget that I have.
That's great.
So yeah.
Jude, where can they find you?
You can find me at I am Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and check out our Facebook group, the Salty Nerd Podcast on Facebook.
Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter. Kadishbooks.com takes you to our Amazon page. And go to saltylist.com to sign up for our newsletter. Everyone who signs up gets access to a private RSS feed where we publish podcasts that aren't publicly available. They're only for our newsletter subscribers. So go check it out.
They're so exclusive. I haven't even heard of them.
I know, right? Me neither.
All right, guys. I am Alex, the Salty Nerd. You guys can catch me on our Discord app. Go to saltynerddiscord.com and join the community. If you want to also help support the podcast, saltynerdstore.com. Go to the club, join the club membership. We're growing, guys. We're moving and hustling. So join in at the ground level and help us out. We'd really appreciate it. All right, everybody. That's it for RoboCop week. And again, a special thank you for David Hewlett. Thank you so much. And everybody else, stay salty, my friends.